Hi guys, what is up? My name is Nicole and welcome to our first ever Zoom call for my nutrition clients and also all of my subscription-based members. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Today, I'm going to talk about a very important topic that I think is overlooked so many times. And we are going to talk about how to actually read nutrition labels and what you should be looking out for when it comes to nutrition labels. So thank you guys all for tuning in. And I'm going to start by sharing my screen. So give me just 1 second to hop over to my PowerPoint and we are going to rock this thing out. So first off, I want to talk about how to read nutrition labels, some of the new stuff that has been added to the nutrition labels. And then we're going to go into some tips on how to actually read them. Okay, so let's get started. How to read nutrition labels. So what is the nutrition label? I think this is super important. So a nutrition fact label is required by the Food and Drug Administration and is on most packaged foods and beverages. The nutrition facts label provides detailed information about the fat, sugar, sodium, and protein, fiber, and then also 2 different vitamins and minerals that they also have as well. In 2016, the FDA actually updated their label and they did it again in 2018, but we're going to talk about the main ones that were updated back in 2016. Okay, so here are the 2 labels side by side. So the one on the left side of your screen is the old one, the original, and the one on the right is the new one. So let's talk about some of the things that are different on this label. So first off, you can see that the calories are larger now. So a little bit more bold, so you can definitely see them. So when you first look at the label, if you ask me, my eyes are automatically drawn to that calories per serving. Also, too, something that you are not going to find on nutrition labels now is the calories from fat. So the FDA decided that it's more important to know what types of fat are in your food versus the calories from fat, and I totally agree with that. So these labels don't show it, but some will now say polyunsaturated fat or monounsaturated fat. So it just really depends what the food is that you're eating. The other big thing that they did is they changed the serving sizes on food to be more realistic. For instance, ice cream, and most ice creams used to have a half a cup is a serving. So let's be realistic. If somebody's going to go eat ice cream, if you or I are going to eat ice cream, we are definitely not going to eat a half a cup of ice cream. So now it says 2/3 on most containers of ice cream. So a little bit more realistic in the actual serving sizes. Okay, the other big thing here that's huge, that's awesome, that was added is now it includes added sugars. So before it just said sugars, very broad base. Now it talks about actually foods that have added sugars into them. So that's very cool. Also too, now vitamin D and potassium are shown, and vitamin A and vitamin C are no longer required, but still companies can choose to show them if they would like to. Okay, so that's just kind of the update on the things that have changed from, like, call it 2016 to now. So where do you start when you're actually at the grocery store? You pick up a product and you turn it around and you're going to read the nutrition label. So let's talk about it. The first thing you should look at is the ingredients list. So the ingredients list is usually down below, or sometimes even on the other side of the package. And this is really important too, because just as important as calories and macronutrients are, the sourcing of your food and actually what it is huge to our metabolic health and also our inflammatory markers in our systems. So right off the bat, the first thing you want to see is the first 5 to 7 ingredients. You want to know what they are. They're weighted by the very first item listed being what is the majority of the product made out of. For instance, so let's say, you buy an item and the first ingredient is sugar on the list, then that means the majority of the product is sugar. In this case, it is actually wheat flour and then brown sugar. So I like how they put brown sugar, sugar molasses. I feel like when they do molasses and different things like that, it's like they're trying to be healthier. But it's still sugar. Your body doesn't really know the difference between a candy bar and fruit when it comes to actually the sugar being in your system and the response that it has in your body. Now, there are other factors that go into play with that. Obviously, some fruit's going to be higher in fiber than just straight up table sugar. So in that sense, it will have a smaller effect on your blood sugar levels because of the fiber. But still, so, your body doesn't realize the difference. So sugar is something we want to minimize. If you look at this particular product, it's actually for a cookie, and it has 39 grams of sugar in 1 serving of these cookies. So obviously this would be a terrible product, and do not use this product. So I wanted to show you this comparison also because this is a really good example of the ingredients. So these are three very, very similar products, right? So we have Ragu, we have Prego, and we have Rao's. So I'm gonna go ahead and just say this off the gate. Rao's is my favorite go-to brand when it comes to red sauce or to a marinara. There are others on the market, but it is my favorite. And the reason it is my favorite, it's not because it's low calorie, it's because of the ingredients. If you notice, Italian whole peeled peppers or tomatoes, peeled tomatoes, tomato puree, salt, basil leaf, olive oil, onion, salt, garlic, basil, black pepper, and oregano. None of those sound like a processed food item. They are all items that are single source, they're good for you. There's nothing wrong with any of those ingredients. So I love this product because of what it's made out of, right? So I'm not even worried about calories or macronutrients in this particular product. So let's hop back over to the Ragu. So here we go. Tomato puree, water. So it's mainly tomato puree and water. Tomato paste, tomato puree again, calcium chloride, citric acid, soybean oil. So citric acid is used to preserve, is it a preservative? The soybean oil is also something that we want to avoid because vegetable oils are inflammatory. Other than avocado oil and olive oil, those are the two that I would recommend. You want to avoid all others like the plague. So you also notice this one has sugar located at the bottom and then natural flavors. So I don't like when products say natural flavors because you really don't know what that means. They don't have to disclose that. So like I said, if you see that, just be wary when you see different natural flavors added to certain foods. Okay, so the Prego, the canola oil, that's the big thing that I see here, right? So right off the bat, 1, 2, 3, 4 down, canola oil. So that is the base, I would almost say, of this product. Yes, tomato puree and water, but still canola oil is so high up on the ingredients list. I would avoid this like a plague. Once again, canola oil is very inflammatory to our systems. And then when you look at Rao's on the other side, the main oil base is going to be olive oil, which is fantastic for us. So I just want to show you why it's so important to read the ingredients, because yes, these are three very similar products, but you can see what they are actually made out of is completely different. So moving on. So these are two of the nutrition labels side by side. So we were just looking at the ingredients. So now we're looking at the nutrition label of this. So here's Rao's, right? So it's 80 calories, 7 grams of fat, 3 grams of carbs, 3 grams of sugar. Now notice there's no added sugar, so that's a great thing. And 1 gram of protein. This is not something that you're looking for a high protein like number on a marinara sauce, right? Definitely not. But you know, the good thing, like I said, that I like about Rao's is the fact that it has amazing source products. Now, when you look over here in the other one, yes, it has 0 fat, right? You would think, oh, that's great, it has 0 fat. Well, fat doesn't make you fat. Overeating out of a calorie deficit is what makes people gain weight, and sugar and alcohol and different things of that nature. So you can see right here, you know, you're up to 10 grams of carbohydrates and 6 grams of those are sugar. So the Ragu is definitely going to be higher in sugar than the Rao's. So I would 100% go with the Rao's over the Ragu any day. Now you might say, well, it's lower in calories by 30 calories. I want you to get the calorie counting out of your head because calorie counting does not matter. It is about the macronutrients and what the product is made out of versus counting calories. For instance, you could have 200 calories worth of Oreos or 200 calories worth of chicken and broccoli. I'm being very vague here, but you could see they're same amount of calories, but what it's made out of is completely different. One's gonna be higher in protein and fiber, and the other one is gonna be, well, high in sugar and carbohydrates, but it's the same calorie number. So you got to get away from tracking calories. It's all about the macronutrients. I just wanted to show that. Okay, so where to start when you're actually looking at the nutrition label? We talked about where to start with the ingredients, right? So the first thing you do, you pick up your container of whatever you're thinking of buying in the grocery store, you look at the ingredients. As long as it doesn't have a bunch of processed stuff, a bunch of sugars, and a bunch of stuff that you don't know how to pronounce, it's probably an okay product. Also, two ingredients, if you can keep it under 10 ingredients in a product, that's awesome. Once you get those huge, long list of products, I would just immediately go ahead and just put it back on the shelf because it's probably trash. Okay, so you turn it over, you look at the ingredients are great, awesome. Now let's look at the nutrition facts. So you're gonna start at the top, you wanna look at the serving size, right? So the serving size is 2/3 of a cup, and whatever this particular item is, there's 8 servings in the container. This is really important to know, especially if you are eating snacky type foods out of a bag. For instance, I love dry roasted chickpeas, right? It's one of my favorite snacks right now to munch on. They're awesome, but the bag itself is 4 servings, okay? So when I am eating it, I usually eat half the bag, right? So I know it's 2 servings. So I'm doubling that calories. I'm doing the math in my head before I even consume it, right? So I need to know what is the actual serving size. You can't turn something around and say, oh my gosh, it only has 50 calories. This is great. Potato chips are an example I use. It has like 100 calories. Awesome. These potato chips must be great. No, 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 no. So that 100 calories is actually for 1 serving, and there might be 10 servings in the bag or something like that. So you can see that number can be skewed very quickly. All right, calories per serving, you just want to take a mental note, see how many calories in it. It's always good to know. You know, if you're going for a snack, you don't want something that's like 500, 600, 700 calories right out the gate. So just having that idea in hand of what your total calories are is always a good thing. All right, so then moving on, understanding the daily values. So the percentage of the daily values is based on a 2,000 calorie a day diet. Now, if you're a man, you may be eating more. I hope you are eating more or right at 2,000 calories. So for you, these percentages might be a little bit accurate. But for us ladies, let's say we're eating 1,500, 1,600 calories. That is more than 10% when it comes to fat, right there, the total fat, 8 grams. It would be more than 10% of our total calories. So honestly, when it comes to the daily value percentage, I say don't even worry about it, right? The main thing I want you to look at is the serving sizes. Just take note of the calories, and then also to just understand what that percentage is, that it's based on a 2,000 calorie a day diet, but it really doesn't matter that much. So just know what it is and then just kind of disregard it and move on. All right, so nutrients to limit and just nutrients in general. So you see it says trans fats. So we're going to talk about it in a minute, but trans fats is one of those things that are artificially made fats, and you do not want them in your system. They raise the cholesterol, they increase cancer, can increase risk of heart attack and stroke. And also too, it's been led to memory loss and dementia and different things like that. So we want to avoid trans fat at all costs. So let's break down the actual label itself a little bit more. So you've got your total fat, right? So those are all going to be listed, whether it's saturated fat, trans fat, mono, or polyunsaturated fat. They all are going to add up into the total fats. That's the number you're looking at there. Your cholesterol on this one, you always just once again take a mindful note of it. But if you have cholesterol issues, don't be worried so much about eating dietary cholesterol. Be more so concerned with the consumption of carbohydrates, alcohol, and sugar in your diet. That's more important, and that's going to increase cholesterol more so than actual cholesterol in the food itself. So mental note. Okay, sodium is next. We'll talk about sodium again in a second, and I'm going to explain the numbers that you should stick to. Carbohydrates. So this is a big one. So you notice right here, there's 37 grams of carbs in this particular product. So I do not know if you know, this is something that I learned a couple years ago, and I was like, oh, that's amazing. So good to know. So that 4 grams of fiber has to be listed. Also your sugars and your added sugars have to be listed. They all make up that 37 grams. Now, if a product has fiber in it, you are going to subtract the amount of fiber per gram from the total amount of carbohydrates. For instance, Quest bars. If you grab a Quest bar or a high fiber protein bar, it will say that it has 4 grams of net carbs. But if you flip it around the back, it says, oh my gosh, no, it has 20 grams of carbs. Well, it has 16 grams of fiber. So you subtract that 16 from the 20, and what do you get? Your 4 grams of net carbs. So dietary fiber is not broken down and has no effect in your body, right? Fiber is good. It keeps us full. It keeps us satiated, but it really just passes through us. So fiber is not something to worry about. The more fiber, the better. So if you ever find products that are higher in fiber, they're usually a thumbs up. Always too, being in mind with sugar, any product that has more than 10 grams of sugar, I would go ahead and say right out of the gate, do not eat. I try to stick more to 7 and below with me and my clients, but it just really depends on what the product is and what you're using it for, so on and so forth. So under 10 grams of sugar is a really good rule of thumb. And then also to included and added sugars, I would avoid. If it says that, you need to really reevaluate and think, do I need this product? Is this product going to add to my health? Is it going to add the nutritional value of my overall diet? Or is it going to cause me to have blood sugar spikes and that insulin roller coaster? And also that insulin roller coaster tells us to store body fat. You got it. So the less sugar, the better. And then obviously protein, right? If you guys know me, you know I'm a huge fan of eating protein. It depends what that particular food item is. If it is a protein bar or some kind of bar, it needs to have at least 15 grams of protein, if not 20 or more, for me to consider it a protein bar. So anytime you're getting a snack bar, make sure to look. If it does not have 15 grams of protein or more, it is no good. Put it back on the shelf. You don't need it. And then at the bottom, you've got nutrients, right? There's the vitamin D, calcium, iron, potassium. And I'll say this, do not judge the food you're going to eat or choose based on the nutrient value. If it is processed and in a box and it has really great vitamins and all these different things in them, they're most likely one added, right? And our vitamins and minerals should be coming, one, from a multivitamin, and two, from fruits and vegetables and the other whole foods that we eat. So yeah, it's great to know the information that this product has 10% of our daily value of vitamin D. But once again, I would disregard that. So when looking at a nutrition label, let's take it from the top. We want to look at the serving size, how many servings are in the actual product, be it a bag or box or whatever. The number of calories, just take note how many calories it's going to be. And then you want to look for trans fats, make sure it doesn't have trans fats. You want to look for sugar. Remember, below 10 grams of sugar per product is like 10 grams is a lot for me. I try to get, if you're trying to lose weight, let me put it this way, if you're trying to lose weight, you should be eating less than 30 grams of sugar per day, if not 20. So, 10 grams for one product is a lot because that's half of the sugar that you're supposed to have in the day. And then also too, so those are the things to look for to avoid. The things we're looking for that are good, those poly and mono unsaturated fats, definitely look for those. Saturated fat is also okay to have in your diet. Sodium, we do want to keep it on the lower end, somewhere around like 400 milligrams. We'll talk about that in a second. And then also to protein, looking at the protein. If it is a protein-based product, it needs to have at least 15 grams or more per serving. So that's what I got there. All right, moving on. So these are some other little tips and notes about calories and the actual nutrition labels. So calories aren't the only measure of nutrition. When you choose the right calorically dense food that keeps you fuller longer, you'll save from those midday munchies, right? So foods that are calorie dense are not always a bad thing. If they're higher in fat, they're higher in protein, it's okay. These foods are going to leave you more satiated and keep you from munching. One of the problems with these 100-calorie snack packs and different things like that is they're little carb bombs, they're little sugar bombs, right? So you eat them, you don't feel full, they spike your blood sugar, and in 10 seconds, you want to go eat something else again. So avoid things of that nature. So snacks, this is a really good takeaway. Your snacks should be anywhere from 130 to 250 calories, and then your meals anywhere from 300 to 600. So very cool there. Look at the serving size. Have you ever thought, wow, this bag only has 50 calories, only to realize your post-snack session was really the whole bag was 3 servings. So that happens all the time, right? You go and you glance at something, you're like, oh my gosh, it only has 100 calories. Great, I'm going to eat it. And then you eat it and you're like, oh man, this was 4 servings in this one bag, right? So just be mindful, right? Manufacturers intentionally label things that way so it makes them seem healthier and better for you. And I just think it's a shame that they do that, but it is what it is. So keep it short when it comes to the ingredients, 10 items or less. If you can't read it, don't eat it. Okay, that's a great one. So if there is some chemical word and you can't eat it or you can't read it, then don't put it in your body. It's a chemical, it's been made in the lab, it's not good for you. Limit sugar to 10 grams per serving. Avoid anything with ose, okay? So sucralose, dextrose, fructose, glucose, lactose, maltose, all these are sugars, right? And the other thing that companies are doing now, they're trying to do cane sugar or agave or nectar or syrup. It makes the perception of the product to be more healthy, that it's okay that it has sugar in there. But in reality, once again, your body doesn't understand the difference. Once it's in your body, it has no idea that you ate a candy bar or you ate, a piece of fruit. So just be mindful of that, right? Sugar is sugar no matter which way you slice it. Avoid partially hydrogenated oils, right? We just talked about that. So partially hydrogenated oils were made to preserve food. Okay, they were made to preserve food and they are not good for you. They clog your arteries, they're not good for brain health, and it's been shown per the FDA to increase the risk of heart disease by increasing LDL and decreasing HDL, weight gain, stroke, and also diminished memory. So these are bad. So avoid canola oil, soybean oil, all these processed hydrogenated BS. Get it out of your house, get it out of your system. Low fat is not always a good thing. I think that's really super huge, especially if you're in that dieter's mindset. Low fat foods, usually what they do is they take out the fat, but they add in salt and sugar to make it taste good, because fat is what gives flavor to most products. You know how steak is very flavorful, right? It's got that rich flavor. It's all the fat in it that gives it that flavor versus chicken breast, right? It's very like blah and plain. That's why chicken thighs have a little bit more flavor than chicken breasts do. So that's why some children will eat chicken thighs over chicken breasts. So if you have a kid that's a picky eater, try chicken thighs on them and see if it's a little bit more palatable for them versus the chicken breast that sometimes can be dry and just flavorless. Okay, minimize ingestion of vegetable oils. We just kind of talked about that. So here we go. Corn, soy, sunflower, safflower, palm oil, all which are horrible for us. Once again, canola oil, corn oil, same thing, avoid it. Sodium should never exceed over 1,000 milligrams per serving. So this is huge too. Okay, so the dietary guidelines say 2,300 milligrams of sodium, which is down from 2,400 like less than a year ago. So they've modified it, but still it's pretty high. You should aim to keep food and meals around 480 milligrams or less, and definitely no more than 1,000. Okay, fiber is your friend. Fiber is amazing. It helps keep you full. It helps keep blood sugar levels stable. It also keeps you from being hungry, that satiety, right? We're always wanting to eat foods that are going to keep us feeling full from meal to meal. So it keeps us from binging and snacking and different things like that. Hashtag keeps our hormones happy, right? Also, 25 grams of fiber a day at minimum is what you should aim for. If you have never paid attention to your fiber before, I highly recommend you try it. Whatever nutrition app you're tracking your macros with, it does have fiber, but you always want to try to aim for more fiber. And how do you do that? Eat more vegetables, guys. Vegetables, vegetables, vegetables. You cannot go wrong by eating more vegetables. And don't worry about cholesterol. I touched on this before. New research has found that cholesterol levels in our bodies are impacted more so by the types of fats in our food, like trans fats, sugars, and not as much from the dietary cholesterol content. So what does that mean? You can eat whole eggs, right? I have people ask that all the time. Now, some of you guys, if you're watching this right now, you might be working a meal plan with me, and I might have you on egg whites. So one of the reasons I'm having you on egg whites instead of whole eggs is because it's easier to follow a plan when the macronutrients are broken up. For instance, protein is a protein. It's not protein and fat. A carb is a carb. It's not protein and carbs and fiber and sugar and blah, 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 right? So it's easier to keep them all separate. And it's always easy to add in extra fats by adding a tablespoon of oil to something, or adding, let's say, nuts to something. So it gives you more food later in the day because you can add fat in other places. So like I said, if you want to eat whole eggs, you're 100% safe to eat whole eggs. There's nothing wrong with it. But if you have a plan from me, most likely it will say egg whites, especially if you're into body transformation, you're trying to drop body fat. Okay, and this is the last slide that I've got. Skip over marketing claims. I hate this when I go to the store. It just aggravates me just so much. It's gluten-free, it's low carb, it's vegan, it's fat-free, it's sugar-free, it's 100% natural, right? That means absolutely nothing. It is all marketing, it's all gimmicks, it's total BS, honestly, I have to say. So, just because you pick up a product and it looks healthy, it does not mean that it is. You must read your nutrition labels. You must read your ingredients, make sure it's 10 ingredients or less. Make sure the first few ingredients are extremely good ingredients, so it's not sugar or wheat or stuff like that. And then also too, the nutrition, you gotta watch your nutrition labels, right? You got to look at them. You have to be mindful of your trans fats. You have to be mindful of the amount of sugar that's in products. And like I said, if you were using a bar or something for a protein supplement, it needs to have at least 15 grams of protein, or I personally do not consider it a protein bar. All right, my friends, so that is all I've got. I hope this was a very helpful presentation. If it was, I would love your feedback. Please just shoot me an email and say thumbs up. I enjoyed it. I also wrote a blog post going over these topics in more detail. So you guys are going to be getting a copy of this recording, and then also too a link to my blog post so you can read over everything that we just discussed. All right, my friends, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you guys next Friday at noon. And like I said, sending lots of mad love and energy out to you for your week. Keep crushing your program, get your workouts in, get your cardio in, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye, guys.